recognize the Honourable Minister of Seniors and Housing.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity to tell you about the wonderful constituency I represent, and also to share the story of what led me to this new job I have as Minister of the Legislative Assembly for Edmonton Riverview. I'm honored that the citizens of Edmonton Riverview chose me as their representative. My deep felt gratitude goes out to them. The 2015 provincial election was not my first time running. I also ran in 2012. Although I was not successful, we did make significant gains and laid the foundation for our later success. As each MLA will attest, my riding is the best. Edmonton Riverview straddles the North Saskatchewan River and reaches from White Mud Drive in the south to Stony Plain Road in the north, and from 109th Street in the east all the way over to 170th Street in the west. The magnificent River Valley parks provide a welcome connection to nature for all. Just a few of the parks that line the River Valley include Sir Wilfrid Laurier, Horillac, Emily Murphy, and White Mud. These parks provide an opportunity for city dwellers to find calm and peace amongst the trees and grass, or snow, depending on the season. Right in the heart of Edmonton, this natural beauty is preserved. Besides a network of trails for hikers, cyclists, skiers, snowshoers, and other person-powered transportation, Edmonton Riverview is made up of walkable, mature neighborhoods. It is home to more than 40,000 Albertans living in active communities, including Windsor Park, McKernan, Park Allen, Lendrum, Malmo, Lansdowne, Grandview, Belgravia, Crestwood, Parkview, Laurier, Linwood, Jasper Park, West Jasper Place, Meadowlark, and Elmwood. The Community League system we have in Edmonton supports many activities, and the dedication of volunteers in Riverview provides opportunities to connect with neighbours, advocate for community initiatives, and develop our community together. The communities of Edmonton Riverview are also bustling with small businesses. Famous Bonton Bakery, Valley View IGA, Park Allen, and Picolina restaurants are just a few of the long-serving establishments. People from all over Edmonton come to enjoy their goods and services. And if this wasn't enough, the University of Alberta is also situated in Edmonton Riverview. This world-class institution provides education to over 30,000 undergraduate students, nearly 10,000 graduate students, and employs thousands of academic and non-academic staff. The University of Alberta Farm is also on the east side of the riding. Not many urban representatives can say they have a farm in their riding. A good number of significant institutions are connected to the University of Alberta, including the University of Alberta Hospital, the Mazankowski Heart Institute, the National Institute for Nanotechnology, the Stollery Children's Hospital, the Cross Cancer Institute, and the Canadian Blood Services Clinic. Another unique organization in my riding is the White Mud Equine Learning Centre, where you can ride horses in the heart of Edmonton. Now that I've told you a bit about my riding, I'd like to tell you a bit about myself. I was born in Winnipeg, Manitoba, which is where a lot of Icelanders with the name Sigurdson come from. My dad was Icelandic, but since he married an English gal from Holden, Alberta, they were always planning to move to Alberta. My mom was a teacher and my dad had his journeyman sheet metal ticket. They figured wherever mom could find a teaching job and there was no sheet metal shop, so Dad could set up shop with no competition, we would live. This turned out to be Valley View, a small town in the Peace River country. A short aside, the riding I represent has an area known as Valley View, and what a fun coincidence. But the Valley View I moved to when I was 7 years old was markedly different than the one in Edmonton Riverview. It was an oil town surrounded by farms, and to the west, Sturgeon Lake Indian Band Reserve. My mother taught elementary at St. Stephen's Catholic School, and my father started a small business, Valley View Sheet Metal. Together, my parents worked hard to provide for their 3 children. Although my mother began teaching as soon as we moved into town, she did not have her teaching degree. She'd only completed the first year. But my mom was determined to complete her Bachelor of Education, and she took evening and weekend courses in Valley View and Grand Prairie. After several years of burning the candle at both ends, she finally finished her degree. My mom did everything. She was a student, she was a worker, she was a mother. My father started a business from nothing. This took guts and creativity. And when I look back on this, I see my parents' tremendous courage. as they built a new life together in an unknown community. Needless to say, they are both inspirations to me when I have experienced challenges in my own life. Their example helps me find my way through. Besides being courageous, industrious, and perhaps a bit unconventional, my parents are also champions for fairness and justice. It was in their home that I began to understand inequality and the responsibility of governments to support all citizens. In Valley View, I witnessed the discrimination Indigenous people experienced. When I was in grade 6, my best friend lived at Sturgeon Lake. When grade 7 began, I looked for her at Hillside High School. She never came. I never saw her again. I always wondered what happened to her. My parents were stalwart New Democrats, which was extraordinary in my hometown. All my friends thought we were weird because we were NDP. Having different political views wasn't always bad, though, because sometimes when I came home from school, Grant and Ollie would be sitting at my parents' kitchen table. Despite my family being different from others in town, I was confident in our values. Then, as now, our values of inclusion and equality hold true for us. I moved to Edmonton immediately after finishing grade 12. I studied political science at the University of Alberta, and I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, but my education confirmed what my parents had taught me. I was a social democrat. With my Bachelor of Arts completed, I needed to find work, and I was hired as a step student for MLA for Edmonton Norwood, Ray Martin. That experience now more than 30 years ago deepened my passion for politics. My connection with Ray and his wife, Cheryl, opened up a new world for me. Their support and guidance helped me get to where I am today. Thank you to Ray and Cheryl. Throughout my 20s, I looked for that job career that felt right for me. I struggled to find my feet, but looking back, I could see there was a pattern. No matter what job I had, I was always drawn towards helping people. In my late 20s, I decided I needed to go back to school again to become a social worker. This was challenging for me as I was also a single mom. Regardless, I was determined to do it. I went on to complete my Bachelor and Master of Social Work degrees at the University of Calgary. From then on, I knew what my purpose was. I never questioned if I had made the right choice in going back to school and taking on a significant amount of debt to become a social worker. I knew I had made the right choice. Being a social worker is truly a calling for me. In my 25-year career, I have worked in many fields of practice, whether supporting families involved in the child welfare system, treating children with mental health issues, serving those challenged by family violence, developing community initiatives, or teaching students enrolled at faculties of social work. It's all been a tremendous privilege. But through all of this, I couldn't help feel that there was a piece missing. My social work career occurred during a time of retrenchment in social services. Every year we learned of new program cuts. Every year it was more and more difficult to serve vulnerable Albertans. Every year we had to figure out how to creatively serve our clients with less. Social workers are taught to look at situations through a person and environment lens. Our work supports individuals to make healthy choices for themselves and their families. But we also look at the environment in which they live, the society. As we examine the society in which we conduct our work, we often need to ask questions such as, does everyone have the opportunity to be included socially and economically? What if an individual has a physical disability or a learning disability? Are there supports for people experiencing family violence? Are there programs to remove and minimize barriers to those with mental health issues? As I went about my work, increasingly I saw that vulnerable Albertans were being left behind by government decisions. I knew this had to stop, and I wanted to help make change. And so I became even more involved in politics. When I decided to run as a candidate in the 2012 provincial election, I must admit it was a challenging decision for me, even with my frustration regarding the lack of progressive policies. This was due in large part to my personal circumstances. For 10 years, I had been married and had 2 more children. Sadly, however, my marriage ended in divorce. I was again a single mom, but this time a single mother of 3 sons. It seemed ridiculous to think that I could run, since I was already maxed out with a full-time job, teaching part-time at the university, and being a mother to 3 boys. But our Premier, who back then was just MLA Rachel Notley, didn't seem to care that I was too busy to take on running in an election. Despite my firm no, she kept at it. She deconstructed all of my arguments against running like the excellent lawyer that she is. She also looked at the situation through a gender lens, which for me was the most powerful. Needless to say, she didn't take no for an answer, and certainly her successful lobbying is a big part of the reason why I'm standing here today. Thank you, Premier. Another amazing woman who greatly influenced my success is Erica Bullwinkle. Erica was my campaign manager in both the 2012 and 2015 elections. Erica has dedicated her life to ensuring progressive women are elected to represent constituents. Her credentials are stellar. Back in 2008, Erica helped get the campaign office of our now Premier up and running. In addition, Erica was the campaign manager for Edmonton Strathcona Member of Parliament Linda Duncan. When she was elected as an MP for the first time, it was an extraordinary accomplishment. MP Duncan has been the sole Alberta representative from any party other than the Conservatives for 3 consecutive federal elections. I know that this is in large part due to Erica's tremendous political acumen, dedication, and most importantly, unreasonable hopefulness in the face of what others would say were insurmountable odds. Therefore, when Erica agreed to be my campaign manager, I knew she was the right woman for the job. Thank you, Erica. I'd like to acknowledge another member of my family who could not be here today, my sister, Karen Sigurdson. Now retired, Karen was a dedicated Alberta public servant for 30 years. She began in the role of communications, but was eventually promoted to executive director level. Karen's communication expertise was generously shared with me during both of my campaigns, but even more importantly, she was and is always someone I can rely on to give me the straight goods. In the political world, this is invaluable. Thank you, Karen. And before I close, I want to acknowledge my sons, Maxwell, Carl, and Wade. Now, as all members of the Assembly know, our families sacrifice so that we may do what needs to be done, to get elected and then to serve the citizens of Alberta. Too many times to mention, my sons figured things out for themselves or got one of their brothers to help them. I want to thank my eldest son, Maxwell, for supporting his little brothers, making supper for them, helping them with their homework, and being a loving listener to their stories. Maxwell is also a tremendous support to me. He inspired me to pursue my dreams. At an earlier time, I struggled with my own self-worth, but being a mother to Maxwell reminded me I was important. I was important because I was his mother. He reminded me of this every day. And even though the challenges at times were overwhelming, he and I together overcame them. Maxwell's currently studying at the University of Alberta in the Faculty of Education, just like his grandma. My middle son, Carl, is also here today. As any parent knows, witnessing our children grow is remarkable. Carl, from a young age, had a calm disposition, which I must say is welcome to a mother of 3 boys. Athletic, star soccer and hockey player, and an honors student. As Maxwell did before him, Carl inspired me and supported me to accomplish my goal. Wade is my youngest son, and he's sick today, so he couldn't be here. Or, as I prefer to call him, my baby. At 14 years, Wade has a generous heart and unwavering determination when he sets his mind to something. Wade is also an honors student, currently in grade 9. He's perhaps the least enamored with my new job. Last fall, in a time when I was away from home more than I was there, he declared, "I don't like your new job." Things have calmed somewhat since then, and I'm able to be home more often now. But as we know, things can change quickly. Wade reminds me of what is really important, our connections with one another. Thank you, Maxwell, Carl, and Wade, for understanding and indeed supporting my work and accepting my big dream. I love you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.